Welcome again to the club, special club event that we are kicking off for the first time. So it's different from our normal format where we will have club announcements and all that stuff. So the reason that we wanted to start this series is it's a very good reason. So there's one thing I'm really happy about. I'm really happy to see there are lots of new divers now who are joining the club, as well as they are starting their diving journey, right? When I think about the time I started diving 20 years ago, I started diving in the 21st century, 2003. Yeah, 2003 is 21st century. Sorry, 20th, 21st. And even then, I think I kind of joined an era where technology and lots of the things that we know today was not the norm. So for example, those days we didn't have dive computers, we didn't have GPS to find the dive site, we had to use show-based navigation, and it was a very interesting time. The other thing I think is the fact that those days, now especially when I started diving in Colombo in 2006, there was some sort of unbelievable magic at that time, diving. The ocean was different, right? For example, you go to the Taprobane East Wreck, the wreck was intact. The sand was white, it still is white. Clear blue water, it was, I don't know how to explain, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Sadly, now things have got a little bit worse. Taprobane East Wreck is now, actually I was quite heartbroken. When I dived it in 2016, it's completely almost destroyed because of anchoring. Then I dived the Black Coral Wreck. Actually, Jens and I dived with Manju 31st of December. The wreck had got destroyed. So my point here is that over time, right, my first diving experiences when I came into diving and when I dive now, it's different. So in 20 years, there's so many things that's different. But now imagine 40 years ago, 60 years ago, what an amazing ocean it could have been. So the reason we are having this talk is that we are on the verge of having pioneer divers who dived in the 50s, 60s, so much knowledge, and we need to preserve that knowledge. We need to preserve it in digital media. We are doing a recording. Also, we want to impart it to your heads so that you remember what were those experiences were like. So the reason we started is we wanted to highlight pioneer divers like Doc Malik, who started free diving in the 50s, 1950s, just after World War II, started scuba diving in 1960s, right? So they have enormous amounts of memories, experiences, and hopefully Doc Malik will be able to share some of those experiences through pictures. So it's going to be a very interesting night. And I'm not going to take more time. Doc gave me introduction, said that he's not doing any jobs, he's unencumbered, which means he's single. And so that's a message to... yeah, so he works for the SLMC, he works for the WNPS, and also helps he's been like the guardian, I would say the patriarch of the Sub-Aqua Club, always pushing us to get things done, and he's been one of the major forces to keep this club alive as a founder member who started this club in 1985. So thanks, Doc, and I invite you to come and take over.
Thank you, DJ. Member not of SLMC, SLMA. There's a difference. Right, now we're starting with this 19th century picture of pearl divers. Not because I was a pearl diver or have anything, but you see they have the same sort of hairstyle that I have. And whether that's an occupational hazard or what, I don't know, but I rather like this picture for that reason. Now, so I'm leaving my very early life away, just starting the school days. which is St. Joseph's College, that I joined at the age of 7 from St. Bridget's Convent. In those days, lots of people who were able to do that sent their children to the convent so that they won't get influenced by the nasty boys in the boys' colleges. So many of you may not have seen St. Joseph's College because pictures don't get done around. That's the chapel from the main ground, which Dali Road is here, and that used to be the quadrangle with the clock tower building there. But now, as you can see, it's a car parking being changed, and behind that was the Beary grounds, which again I think has been built on now. I don't go there very much. I learned swimming at the age of 7 years, taught by Harry Nightingale, an Australian Olympic swimmer who was here conducting swimming lessons, and that they were done at the Golf Hotel saltwater pool, and also at one of the other schools by the sea at Mount Lavinia that also had a pool. There were only 3 pools in the country, I think, swimming pools. The third one being the Colombo Swimming Club, that was only for whites. But the public school swimming meets were all held there. So that was quite an outing for us to go into the Colombo Swimming Club. Now, that looks a very nice thing, but it's only about that high. My only trophy, the house swimming pool. I did swim for college under 16. I won public schools meet, came third in the backstroke. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but the next year I was placed nowhere because by then I had found that the bottom of the swimming pool was more interesting than swimming up and down on the surface. So I started underwater swimming very early, when I was 15, 16. Early introduction to Hikkaduwa. You see the coconut trees. You don't see any coconut trees there now. Father Marges, this was my introduction to marine biology, I think. My other interest is all water related because I was always happier in water than on land. Ray Vijayawardena, you I'm sure would have heard of him. He was married into my mother's side of the family, and he invited me to crew for him at Bolgota, which I did for about 2 or 3 years. The Hornet, I don't think Hornets exist now. That class, it's a pure racing boat, very shallow, very fast, great fun. We cycled to school from the age of 14, and you see the cycles that we used. A bit closer. Yeah, if you can't hear, just raise your hand or shout or do something. Okay. Right, now BSA 22-inch bike costs 210 rupees at, I think, Cargill's or Miller's. We rode that to school. We did one trip, a group of about 15 of us, to Negombo and back, which was quite successful. I then wanted to do a longer trip and suggested we cycle to Gaul or Mathura. About 20 said, yes, we'll join you, but eventually it ended up with just one. Main reason was that parents didn't want their children going out unless they knew where they were staying and when they were coming back and what they were going to eat and so on and so on. But anyway, it was a good trip. Only one, Christy, who was the only one who didn't cycle regularly to school because he used to drive the father's car. Christy now retired. He became an anesthetist and went off to the UK. My time at St. Joseph's, I was a very ordinary student. I left in 57. I had 2 academic achievements. The first was that I failed the Sinhala at the O level 4 times, which meant that I couldn't enter the local medical school and had to go abroad. But I was able to stay on there through the courtesy of the rector, Father Peter Pillay. Did the London O level, and I was able to get the 4 A's, and eventually got admitted to the University of Bristol. But I had a gap year because I was to join it in 59. So I spent the time demonstrating in the zoology and biology classes. I also learned flying. I had been flying light aircraft with Ray Vijayawardena quite frequently. This was taken on my last solo flight. I soloed after 1.5 hours of dual instruction. The dual instruction cost 35 rupees. The solo flight was 30 rupees for an hour. So, well, you can see the sights. You can see the Colombo Harbour there with a few ships. Echelon Barracks, that doesn't exist now, and also the racecourse. The center of the racecourse was a polo ground. There